Hey everybody, and welcome back to Living Room Learning, and welcome back to my living room. I hope you all are having a great week, and I'm looking forward to talking with you today. We're going to continue where we left off from last week. We were talking about identifying problems and how different problems and different sizes of problems can affect us and the way that we feel about them. And today we are going to talk about how we know if a problem is small or large or somewhere in the middle or medium sized. So let's first talk about what a problem is. So a problem is when something has gone wrong. So when you hear me use the word problem, I'm talking about something that has come up unexpectedly or something that we weren't expecting to happen, and something that usually isn't considered to be a good thing to have a problem. And then we're also going to use the word solution. Solution is the way that we fix a problem or how we solve a problem. And the other word that we're going to use today is the word reaction, which is the way that you respond or that you feel emotionally about something. So your reaction is kind of what happens to you when you experience a problem. And we'll give some examples to make that a little bit more clear as we go. All right, just like last week when we talk about a small problem, we can use the small green bead to reference that. If we're talking about a medium-sized problem, we have the yellow cube. Or if we have a large problem, we have the large red rectangle to represent the large problems. So the first thing that we want to talk about is how do you know if a problem is small, medium, or large? And some of you may be really great at identifying those kinds of problems right now, and if so, wonderful. If not, then we probably have to start with asking ourselves some questions. So let's start with big problems, because these are often the most easy to identify. Big problems are easier to identify because they cause big reactions and big feelings. So think about big problems as things like emergencies. If someone is unsafe or you're in danger or someone is about to be hurt, that's a big problem. If you are in a car accident, that's a big problem. Big problems are easier to identify too because these are problems where you know you need to get help from someone immediately. So you know if there is a fire in the kitchen, you are asking for help quickly and someone is calling 911. You know if you're in a car accident or you see someone with a weapon, you are getting help immediately and someone is calling 911. Big problems can also be things that really, really scare us or make us have some really intense or serious feelings. Those are some good clues that you're dealing with a big problem. So you cannot handle big problems by yourself. Small problems are things that are very easy to solve. You drop your pen and it rolls over under someone else's desk. You can either go get it or ask someone to pick it up and hand it back to you. You leave your jacket in the other room. You forget your keys in your other bag, so you have to go and get the set of keys that you need. You're cooking breakfast and you drop an egg on the floor. These are things that we know how to take care of by ourselves. We know how to go get a jacket from the other room. We know how to wipe the floor if we drop something or to clean up after ourselves. So those are things that have easy solutions. They don't cause big feelings. They're easy to take care of, and they don't disrupt your day or your feelings very much at all. So in between those two are your medium-sized problems. And I know that's a pretty wide range, But these are problems where you often need help to solve them, but you don't need help immediately. So this would be something like you left your lunch at home. You might have to get some assistance with that. You might have to ask someone to help you get a substitute lunch in the meantime, but it's not an emergency. You don't need help right away, right now. Nobody's in danger. You're hungry, and you need a little bit of help, but it's not something that is very, very, very serious. Medium-sized problems are also things like you lose your glasses, or even like you lose your wallet. That may be inconvenient and it may be disappointing because you have to replace your money or your ID or the things that you have in your wallet, but it's not an emergency. It does require that you need some help to solve those problems, all the problems that would come up from having to get a new ID or to get your glasses fixed. But it's not something that you need immediate help with right away, and it's not something that you can solve by yourself. So it's somewhere in the middle. All right, so I hope those are some helpful examples of the different sizes of problems. And again, many of you might be able to identify those already, and that is fabulous. But I want to talk about one more thing, because what often happens to a lot of us is we may experience a small problem, but our reaction doesn't match. We have a big reaction. And let me give you an example of what that would be like. So let's say you are in the gym and you left your jacket in the computer lab. Small problem. You know how to solve that problem. You just walk back and get it, and you're good to go. But what happens if, for some reason, that small problem really upsets you, and you deal with a small problem by having a huge reaction? Well, a few things happen here. First, it's not appropriate to have that type of reaction about something that's a small problem. So it may be confusing to your peers. Your peers may have, and other hipsters may have, some confused thoughts about what it is that is making you react so big. I mean, if you leave your jacket in there and then all of a sudden you're yelling and you're screaming and you need help to calm down and you're out of control, or you have this huge reaction about a small problem, that's an area that we need to work on. And what we'd want is for you to understand those feelings are there, and then to start finding ways to calm down before you get to the point where you're screaming and yelling or hitting the table or really upset. So you would want to identify, I'm really upset. This is bothering me, maybe more than it should. I'm overreacting. I need to take some deep breaths and calm down, and maybe use some coping strategies that work for you to get your reaction to be more of a consistent size. And those kind of things happen probably more often than you might realize. Even something that's small, like say we are on MP Online and somebody makes a comment in one of the comment sections that is annoying or that we don't like very much. And that's something that's a small problem. We can ignore that. We don't have to respond to it. We can just keep watching the videos or keep communicating back and forth with our friends. But when we start to try to be in control and we have a bigger reaction, that's still inappropriate. That's something that we need to work on too, is maybe we're not yelling and screaming, but maybe we're trying to be in control of something that's not ours. And the small problem that we could deal with by ignoring or moving on or walking away, we deal with by, causing more frustration or more confusion. And that's also an inappropriate way to solve that problem. A more appropriate way to solve some problem like that would to be having a smaller size reaction where it's more consistent and it's more in line with what your friends or peers would expect. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to respond to the same problem the same way. It is absolutely okay for a small problem to make you upset, but the reaction that we have, and that we, if we don't control it and we don't work through the big feelings that come with it, it can seem really, really inconsistent and confusing, and it doesn't really solve the problem. If I have a small problem and I react in a medium or a big sized way, I usually don't solve the problem. I just make more problems. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So let's say that, I have a good example. Let's say that I go to work and I leave my keys in the car. I didn't lock the car, so it's not a problem. I'm not locked out. It's just a matter of I have to go down and get them and come back. And say I get really frustrated about that. And I say, oh, I just don't want to go back downstairs and take care of this. It's just so frustrating. And say I get really upset and I punch the wall. That would definitely not be a safe choice or a wise decision. And me punching the wall doesn't get me my keys. Me punching the wall hurts my hand, makes a hole in the wall, and I still don't have my keys. So that inappropriate overreaction just causes more of a problem. The same is true if we kind of do the opposite of that. So say there is a fire. We are cooking and we accidentally caught a towel on fire and we need some help with that. If I react in a very small way to a big problem, that is also not good. So if I have a fire and I say, sure is getting hot in here, and I turn around and leave and go sit down in the living room, even though there's a fire, that's called an underreaction. I did not solve the problem. There is still a fire, and now I'm in danger, as well as my house and the other people in my house. So an underreaction when there's a big problem, or even an underreaction when there is a medium-sized problem, is still not appropriate. If my dog gets out of my fence and is running around my neighborhood, and I say, she'll come back later, and I don't go get my dog, and I don't take some action to solve that problem will not solve itself, and I did not do the right thing. So I hope this helps to kind of clarify or give some more information about how to identify when a problem is large or small, as well as how to make sure that you're thinking about if your reaction is consistent with the size of the problem. And this is something that as we go back to NP, it's going to be really important that we try to make sure that our reactions to new things and changes and some temporary changes, that those things are maybe causing some big feelings, but we try to get in control of those feelings and have some appropriate reactions, because the appropriate reactions really help in a classroom environment. They help at NP. They help when you're a part of a team or a group, because it helps everyone know what to expect, and it really helps for you to be able to communicate about those kinds of things. And when we're calmer and able to have more appropriate reactions, we can usually solve problems better and get what we need better. So I hope those things help you, and I am looking forward to another week next week, and I will talk to you then. Thanks.